He gave up his empire for his sons. But 6 months later, his past comes knocking, and it's not asking politely. The Volkov family wants revenge, and they know exactly where to hurt him, through the woman he's learning to love again, and the 3 boys who made him human. Now the former crime lord must face an impossible choice: return to the darkness to protect his family, or stay clean and watch them burn. This is the story of a man who thought walking away would save them. But sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to become the monster you left behind. 6 months of normal felt like a lifetime. Jaewon stood in the kitchen of the small house in the suburbs. Nothing like the mansion he'd left behind. Nothing like the penthouse that used to overlook the city like a throne. And made bottles for 3 hungry boys who didn't care that their father used to be a king. 4 a.m., the witching hour for triplets. Kojo was crying in his crib. Kwame had somehow gotten his foot stuck between the bars. Kofi was strangely quiet, which meant he was either sleeping or plotting something. Amara appeared in the doorway, her hair in a messy bun, wearing one of his old t-shirts that hung to her knees. She looked exhausted and beautiful and almost like she'd forgiven him. "I've got Kwame," she said, her voice thick with sleep. "I've got all of them. Go back to bed. Jaewon, you have work in 3 hours. So do you." She worked part-time now at a community center, teaching art to kids who needed beauty in their lives. He worked at her brother's security firm, doing threat assessments and protection details for corporate executives who were terrified of everything from kidnapping to aggressive shareholders. It was boring. It was legitimate. It was everything he'd never thought he'd want. And he loved it. "We take turns, remember?" she said, moving past him to rescue Kwame. That was the deal. The deal. 6 months ago, she'd laid out the terms. He could be part of their lives, but he had to prove he'd changed. No shortcuts. No using money to solve problems. No disappearing when things got hard. He'd followed every rule, showed up for every doctor's appointment. Changed diapers at 3 a.m., learned that Kojo hated green beans, but loved sweet potatoes. That Kwame would only sleep if you hummed a specific rhythm. That Kofi was the quiet observer who saw everything. And slowly, so slowly he almost didn't notice, Amara had started to soften. She smiled at him now. Not the way she used to, not with that unreserved joy, but with something careful and new, something being built instead of remembered. "You're staring," she said, not looking at him. "You're worth staring at." She blushed. 6 months, and he could still make her blush. Smooth talker. Honest talker. She got Kwame settled, then turned to face him, leaning against the counter. "You seem happy." "I am happy. Even though you're making 1/10 of what you used to? Even though you're changing diapers instead of changing the world?" "I am changing the world, 3 boys at a time." She laughed softly. "When did you get so philosophical?" "When I realized empires crumble, but family is forever." The words hung between them like a bridge. She crossed it, stepped closer, put her hand on his chest, right over his heart. "I'm proud of you," she whispered, "for walking away, for staying, for being the man they need." "What about the man you need?" Her eyes met his, dark and deep and still carrying scars he'd put there. "You're getting there." It wasn't love, not yet, but it was closer than he'd been 6 months ago. His phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. Something cold slithered down his spine. "Don't answer it," Amara said, reading his face. "It's probably nothing." "Jaewon," he answered. Silence on the other end. Then breathing. Then a voice he hadn't heard in 6 months. "Hello, Jaewon. Did you really think you could just walk away?" Alexei Volkov, the man whose territory he'd abandoned. The man whose soldiers had died in the power vacuum he'd created. The man who'd sworn revenge. Jaewon's hand tightened on the phone. "What do you want?" "I want what you took from me. But since you've gone soft, playing house with your little family, I think I'll take what you care about instead." The line went dead. Amara was watching him, her face pale. Who was that? Nobody. Liar. He set the phone down carefully, his mind already calculating threats, exits, protection protocols. The old instincts flooding back like muscle memory. Jaewon. Who was that? He looked at her. At the woman who'd given him a second chance. at the boys sleeping in the next room who didn't know their father used to be a monster. My past, he said quietly, and it's not done with me yet. The next morning, J1 drove Amara and the boys to the community center despite her protests. I have a car, she said, strapping Kojo into his car seat. I know. I've been driving myself for 6 months. I know. So why? She stopped, studied his face. You're scared. I'm cautious. You're terrified. I can see it in your eyes. She finished with Kojo, moved to Kwame. That phone call last night. Who was it really? He checked the rearview mirror. The street was quiet, suburban, safe, or it had been. Someone from my old life. And they're not happy I left. Amara's hands stilled on Kwame's straps. Are we in danger? He wanted to lie. Wanted to tell her everything was fine, that the past stayed in the past, that walking away meant they were untouchable. But he'd promised her honesty. I don't know, he said. Maybe. Probably. She closed her eyes, breathed deep. Okay. Okay? Okay. We deal with it. Together. That's what partners do, right? Partners, not lovers, not husband and wife anymore, but partners. It was more than he deserved. I need to make some calls, he said. Put some protections in place. Legal protections? Yes. She searched his face. Promise me you won't go back to who you were. Amara. Promise me, J1, because if you do, if you go back to that world, we're done. For real this time. I won't raise my sons around that darkness. He reached across the car, took her hand. I promise. I'll handle this the right way. She wanted to believe him. He could see it in her eyes. But she'd been burned before. Okay, she whispered. But the first sign of trouble, I'll tell you. No secrets. It was a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. At the security firm, her brother Marcus was waiting in his office. 35, sharp-suited, still slightly intimidated by his sister's ex-husband, despite 6 months of professional collaboration. We have a problem, Marcus said without preamble. J1 closed the door. Volkov? How did you... Marcus shook his head. Right. Of course you knew. He's been asking questions. About you, about Amara, about the boys. Ice flooded J1's veins. What kind of questions? Where you live, where she works, what route you take to daycare. Marcus pulled up security footage on his computer. He had someone follow you yesterday, professional tail. I only caught it because I've been running counter-surveillance since you started here. On the screen, a black SUV shadowed J1's car through downtown Detroit. He's planning something, J1 said quietly. No shit. Question is, what are you planning? J1 stared at the screen, at the threat circling his family like a shark around swimmers. 6 months ago, he would have mobilized his entire organization, would have declared war, would have made Alexei Volkov disappear into the Detroit River before sunrise. But he wasn't that man anymore. Was he? I need you to increase security on Amara and the boys, he said. Discreet, professional, nothing that scares them. Already done. I've had a team on them since last week. J1 looked at his brother-in-law. You knew. I know the kind of enemies you made, and I know men like Volkov don't forget. Marcus leaned forward. So here's my question. Are you going to handle this the legal way, or are you going to revert? What's the legal way? Police protection, restraining orders, going public with the threat so Volkov can't move without exposure. That'll take weeks, maybe months, and it won't stop him. It'll just make him more careful. And the illegal way? J1 was quiet. That's what I thought, Marcus said. Look, I don't judge. You did what you had to do to survive. But my sister, she's finally happy again. Those boys are finally stable. If you drag them back into your old world, I won't. You sure about that? Because I've seen that look before. That's the look of a man planning violence. I'm planning protection. There's a difference. J1 stood. I need to make some calls. Legal calls? Necessary calls. He left before Marcus could respond. In his car, he sat in the parking garage and stared at his phone. He had numbers he'd sworn he'd never use again. Contacts he'd deleted. Bridges he'd burned. But for his family, for Amara and Kojo and Kwame and Kofi. He'd rebuild every single one. He made the call. Victor answered on the first ring. I wondered when you'd reach out. I need information on the Volkovs. Current operations, locations, vulnerabilities. That's not free, Jay. Not anymore. You walked away, remember? Name your price. Victor laughed, bitter and knowing. I don't want money. I want you to admit you were wrong. That walking away was a mistake. That family doesn't trump empire. Jaewon closed his eyes. I wasn't wrong. Then I can't help you. Victor, you made your choice. Live with it. The line went dead. Jaewon sat in the silence of his car, surrounded by the ghosts of who he used to be and the reality of who he'd become. He'd walked away from power, but power hadn't walked away from him. And now the people he loved were paying the price. The attack came 3 days later. Jaewon was at work when his phone rang. Amara's number. Middle of the day. She never called during work hours. He answered before the first ring finished. Jaewon. Her voice was shaking. Someone broke into the house. His world stopped. Are you okay? Are the boys okay? We're fine. We weren't home. We were at the park. But when we got back... Her voice broke. They destroyed everything. The nursery. The photos. They left a message. What message? It says, you can't hide from what you are. He was already moving, already running to his car, his heart a war drum in his chest. Lock yourself in the car. Drive to Marcus's office. I'll meet you there. Jaewon, I'm scared. I know, baby, I know. But I've got you. I promise I've got you. He made it to Marcus's office in 12 minutes. Amara was in the conference room, the boys in their carrier car seats, crying because they could feel their mother's fear. She stood when she saw him, and he pulled her into his arms. She was shaking. I'm sorry, he whispered into her hair. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. It's not. It is. I brought this to your door. I thought walking away would be enough, but it wasn't. It's never enough with men like Volkov. She pulled back, looked at him with eyes full of tears and terror, and something that looked like resignation. What are you going to do? He knew what she was really asking. Are you going to become him again? The monster? The crime lord? Are you going to choose violence? I'm going to protect you. Whatever it takes. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Police are at your house. They're treating it as a break-in, not a targeted threat. But we both know what this is. Jaewon looked at his family. At Amara, trying to be strong while falling apart. At Kojo, Kwame, and Kofi, crying because the world felt wrong. At everything he'd built in 6 months. At everything he was about to lose. I need you to take them somewhere safe, he said to Marcus. Where? I don't care. Out of state, out of the country if you have to. Just get them away from me. Jaewon, Amara started. This is my fight, not yours. You were right 6 months ago. I bring darkness wherever I go, and I won't let that darkness touch you or our sons. So what? You're just going to send us away and go to war? I'm going to end this, permanently. She grabbed his face, forced him to look at her. Don't you dare. Don't you dare go back to being him. You promised me. You promised. I promised to protect you. That's what I'm doing. By becoming the man I divorced? By proving that you haven't changed at all? What choice do I have? His voice broke, raw and desperate. He broke into our home, Amara. He threatened our children. What am I supposed to do? File a police report and hope he stops? You're supposed to trust that there's another way, that you don't have to solve everything with violence. There is no other way, not with men like him. She dropped her hands, stepped back. Then you were right 6 months ago. You haven't changed. You've just been pretending. The words cut deeper than any knife. That's not fair, isn't it? The first real threat that comes, and you're ready to become a monster again. All those diapers, all those nights, all that work. It was just window dressing. You're still Jaewon Kang, crime lord. You're still your father's son. Don't... Prove me wrong then. Find another way. Be the man you promised you'd become. There is no other way. Kofi started crying harder, setting off his brothers. Amara picked up the carrier, her movements sharp with anger and fear. "Then I guess we're done here," she said quietly. "Because I won't let my sons grow up thinking violence is the only answer. I won't let them become you." She walked to the door. "Amara, goodbye, J1. It was nice while it lasted. Don't do this. Don't walk away, not now." She turned, tears streaming down her face. "You're the one walking away, right back into the darkness. I'm just refusing to follow you there." She left. Marcus watched her go, then looked at J1. "So, what now?" J1 stood in the empty conference room, his family gone, his promises broken, his carefully constructed new life crumbling around him. What now? He pulled out his phone, made a call he'd sworn he'd never make. "Victor, I was wrong. About everything. And I need your help." "Finally," Victor said. "Welcome back, boss." J1 closed his eyes, felt the old skin slide back on like it had never left, and became the monster one more time. The old warehouse on the east side looked abandoned. Broken windows, rusted metal, graffiti covering every surface. But J1 knew better. This was neutral ground, the place where deals were made and wars were ended, or started. Victor was waiting inside, surrounded by men J1 recognized. His old lieutenants, the soldiers who'd helped him build an empire. They looked at him differently now, not with the automatic deference they used to show, but with curiosity, testing, wondering if the man who'd walked away 6 months ago was really back. "You look different," Victor said, circling him slowly. "Softer. Suburban life does that to a man. I'm not here for commentary." "No. You're here because your attempt at playing house failed. Because the big bad world came knocking and you realized you can't protect your family with diaper changes and bedtime stories." J1's jaw tightened. "I'm here because Alexei Volkov threatened my sons, and I need information to stop him." "Stop him how? The legal way?" Victor laughed. "We both know that's not going to work. Men like Volkov don't respond to restraining orders and police protection. They respond to fear, to power, to knowing that crossing you means death. I'm not killing anyone." The room went quiet. Victor stopped circling, stared at him. "What?" "I said I'm not killing anyone. I need a solution that doesn't involve bodies in the river. Something that ends this without me becoming my father." One of the lieutenants, Jackson, a man who'd been with the organization for 15 years, spoke up. "Boss, with all due respect, that's not how this works. Volkov already made his move. He broke into your home, threatened your family. If you don't respond with overwhelming force, you look weak. And weak men don't keep their families safe. Then I'll look weak. You'll get them killed," Jackson said flatly. "Volkov won't stop with a warning. He'll escalate. He'll keep coming until you respond the only way he understands." J1 knew Jackson was right. Had known it the moment Amara called him, terrified and shaking. The rules of the underworld were simple. Show weakness, and you invite destruction. Show strength, and you command respect. But there had to be another way. Had to be. "Give me alternatives," he said. "Legal pressure, exposure. Something that neutralizes him without bloodshed." Victor pulled out a tablet, brought up files. "Okay, here's what we know about Volkov's operation. He's got 3 major revenue streams: illegal gambling, gun trafficking, and money laundering through his restaurant chain. If you wanted to hurt him legally, you'd need to expose the money laundering," J1 finished. "Get federal investigators involved, make him too radioactive for his partners to touch. That could work, in theory, but it'll take months, maybe years, and in the meantime, my family stays hidden, protected, out of reach. And you think Volkov will just wait patiently while you build a case against him? He's not an idiot, Jay. He knows you'll come for him. He's probably already planning his next move." J1's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Again. He answered, put it on speaker. Alexei Volkov's accented voice filled the warehouse. "Hello, J1. I'm disappointed. I expected you to come for me by now. Instead, I hear you're meeting with your old friends, trying to find a peaceful solution." He laughed. "There is no peaceful solution. Not for men like us. What do you want, Alexei? I want you to understand what you cost me. When you walked away, you created a power vacuum. My territory got swallowed up. My soldiers died in the chaos. And you just disappeared into suburban bliss while I cleaned up your mess. I'm sorry for that. Truly. But my war was never with you. Wasn't it? You abandoned your empire, left it weak and vulnerable. And now you think you can just walk back in, solve your little problem, and disappear again? Volkov's voice hardened. It doesn't work that way. You don't get to choose when you're in this world and when you're not. Then what do you want? Name it. I'll pay whatever. I don't want money. A pause. I want you to come back. Take your throne again. Restore order. Because right now this city is chaos. And chaos is bad for business. Jaewon's mind raced. You're threatening my family to force me back into the game. I'm showing you the truth. You were never out. You just pretended to be. And your family, your beautiful partner, and those 3 little boys, they're paying the price for your delusion. If you touch them, you'll what? Kill me? Please. We both know you've gone soft. You couldn't even kill me if I was standing in front of you. Volkov laughed again. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to reclaim your empire. You're going to restore order to this city. And in exchange, I'll leave your family alone. They can have their peaceful suburban life while you do the work you were always meant to do. And if I refuse, then I'll keep escalating. Today it was your house. Tomorrow maybe I visit that community center where your lovely Amara works. Maybe I introduce myself to those triplets at their daycare. Accidents happen, J1. You know that better than anyone. The phone went dead. The warehouse was silent. Victor spoke first. He's backing you into a corner. Either you return to being who you were, or your family dies. Those are your choices. Jaewon stood there, feeling the weight of every decision he'd ever made pressing down on him. 6 months ago, he'd walked away because he wanted to be a better man, because he wanted his sons to be proud of their father. But what good was being a better man if his sons didn't survive long enough to know him? There has to be another way, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Jackson stepped forward. Boss, I respect what you're trying to do. Building a clean life, being there for your kids. But some of us don't get to choose. You were born into this world. You built something powerful. And men like Volkov, they're never going to let you leave. Not really. So what? I just accept that I'm trapped? That I'm always going to be my father's son? You accept that protecting your family might mean getting your hands dirty. That's not being your father. That's being a father. The words hit like a punch. Jaewon looked around the warehouse, at the men who'd followed him, at Victor, who'd held the empire together after he left, at the world he'd tried to escape. His phone buzzed again. This time it was Marcus. We've got a problem. Someone just tried to grab Amara at the grocery store. My guys stopped it, but Jaewon, this is escalating fast. Whatever you're planning, you need to do it now. Jaewon's blood turned to ice. Is she okay? Shaken, but fine. The boys are safe, but she's asking for you. He closed his eyes, saw Amara's face when she'd walked out of Marcus's office. The disappointment, the fear, the resignation. You're still your father's son. Maybe she was right. Maybe he'd always been this. A monster pretending to be a man. Victor, he said quietly, I need you to set up a meeting with Volkov, face to face, neutral ground. You sure about that? No, but it's the only move I have left. Victor nodded. I'll make the call. Jaewon walked outside, into the Detroit cold, pulled out his phone. Looked at the last message from Amara, sent 2 hours before she left Marcus's office. I don't want to give up on you, but I can't watch you become him again. Please find another way. Please prove me wrong. He typed a response. Deleted it. Typed another. Finally settled on. I'm trying. I promise I'm trying. He sent it. Didn't expect a response. Got one anyway. Trying isn't enough. Being there is. He stared at those words for a long time. Being there. Not fighting. Not winning. Not destroying his enemies. Just being there. But how could he be there if they were dead? How could he protect them without becoming the very thing they feared? He didn't have an answer. So he got in his car and drove to Marcus's safe house, to his family, to the people who made him want to be better than he was, and hoped he could figure it out before it was too late. The safe house was a nondescript rental in the suburbs, 40 minutes outside Detroit. Marcus had chosen it carefully. Quiet neighborhood, good sight lines, easy exits. The kind of place that looked so normal it was invisible. Jae-won sat in his car outside for 10 minutes, gathering courage. He'd faced down rival crime families, had negotiated deals worth millions, had made decisions that ended lives. But walking through that door, facing Amara after what he'd just done, that terrified him. Finally, he got out. Marcus met him at the door. She's upstairs with the boys. Fair warning. She's furious. Not at you. At the situation. At Volkov. At the universe for putting her here. I know. Do you? Because she's been crying for an hour. Trying to hide it from the boys, but they know. Kids always know. Guilt twisted in Jae-won's gut. I'm going to fix this. How? I don't know yet. Marcus grabbed his arm. Listen to me. Whatever you're planning, whatever deal you're making with Victor or Volkov or whoever, think about what it costs. Not in money, in pieces of your soul. Because my sister has already paid too much for your past. Don't make her pay more. I won't. Promise me, on those boys upstairs. Promise me you won't become the man who destroyed her the first time. Jae-won met his brother-in-law's eyes. I promise. He climbed the stairs slowly. The safe house was furnished like a catalog. Generic, temporary, nothing personal. The opposite of the home they'd built together over 6 months. The nursery room door was open. Amara sat in a rocking chair, Kofi asleep on her chest. Kojo and Kwame were in portable cribs, finally quiet after what had probably been hours of crying. She looked up when he entered. Her eyes were red. Her face was exhausted. But she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. Hi, he said softly. Hi. Can we talk? She looked at Kofi, then carefully stood and transferred him to his crib. The baby stirred but didn't wake. She'd always had that magic touch with them. She walked past Jae-won into the hallway, closed the door behind her. They stood in the narrow space, close but not touching. Marcus said someone tried to grab you, he said. 2 men, at the grocery store. I was loading the boys into the car. Her voice was steady, but he could hear the tremor underneath. They approached from both sides. Said they had a message from Mr. Volkov. That's when Marcus's guys intervened. Rage, hot and familiar, flooded through him. Did they touch you? No, but Jae-won, they knew their names. Kojo, Kwame, Kofi. They knew which one was which. They've been watching us, learning our routine. He wanted to put his fist through the wall. Wanted to find those men and show them what happened when you threatened his family. Wanted to be the monster. I met with Victor, he said instead. Her expression shuddered. Of course you did. Amara, what did he tell you? That you need to go back? That violence is the only language Volkov speaks? That you have to become the crime lord again to protect us? Yes. She closed her eyes. And what did you say? I said I needed another option. Did he give you one? Not yet. She laughed, bitter and broken. So we're here, in hiding, while you figure out how to save us without becoming the man I divorced. I'm trying. I know you're trying. I know. She opened her eyes, looked at him with something that might have been pity. But trying isn't going to stop Volkov, and we both know it. There has to be a way. Legal channels, federal investigators, something that takes months, years, while we hide in safe houses and the boys grow up terrified. She shook her head. That's not a life, Jae-won. That's a prison. Then what do you want me to do? The question hung between them like a blade. I want you to find a third option. Something that's not violence and not surrender. Something that proves you really have changed. And if there isn't one, then I guess we find out who you really are. She went back into the nursery, closed the door. Jae-won stood in the hallway, his hands shaking, his heart a war between what he wanted to be and what he might have to become. His phone buzzed. Victor. Volkov agreed to meet. Tomorrow night. The old steel mill on the river. Just you and him. Just him and Volkov. No witnesses, no backup. It was either a negotiation or an execution. Jaewon texted back, "I'll be there." Then he called his lawyer, the one he'd kept on retainer even after leaving the organization, the one who specialized in making problems disappear legally. "I need everything you have on Alexei Volkov. Financial records, business dealings, anything that could interest the FBI. That's a tall order, and dangerous. Volkov has connections. I don't care. I need ammunition that doesn't require a gun." The lawyer was quiet. "You're really trying to do this clean?" "I'm really trying." "Okay. Give me 48 hours. I've got 24. Then I'll work fast." Jaewon ended the call, went downstairs to where Marcus was monitoring security feeds. "I need a favor," Jaewon said. "Name it. Tomorrow night I'm meeting Volkov, alone. If something happens to me, if I don't come back, I need you to take care of them." Marcus turned from the monitors. "You're walking into a trap." "Maybe, but it's the only way to end this without bloodshed. And if he kills you, then at least I died trying to be the man they needed me to be, not the man I was." Marcus studied him. "You've changed. 6 months ago you would have already put a bullet in Volkov. No negotiation. No mercy. 6 months ago, I didn't have 3 boys counting on me to be better. They're counting on you to be alive. I know. And I'm going to try my best to come back." Jaewon paused. "But if I don't? Tell them their father loved them. Tell them I chose them over everything, even if it doesn't look like it. Tell them yourself. I will, if I can." That night, Jaewon lay on a couch in the safe house while his family slept upstairs. He couldn't be in the nursery, couldn't risk waking the boys, but he couldn't sleep either. Around 2 a.m., Amara came downstairs. She didn't say anything, just sat on the other end of the couch. They existed in silence for a while. Finally, "I'm scared." He looked at her. "Me too. 6 months ago, I thought we were building something clean and good, and now, we are building something. Are we? Or were we just pretending? Playing house while your past waited in the shadows?" "It wasn't pretending. Every diaper I changed, every bottle I made, every night I stayed up with them, that was real." She pulled her knees to her chest. "Then why does it feel like we're right back where we started? You choosing violence, me choosing to leave." "I'm not choosing violence. You're meeting Volkov tomorrow, alone, in a place where no one will hear you die. What do you call that?" "I call it trying to negotiate, trying to find a solution that doesn't make me a monster. And if negotiation doesn't work?" He didn't have an answer. She moved closer, put her hand on his. "I need you to promise me something. Anything. If tomorrow goes wrong, if this all falls apart, I need you to promise that you won't sacrifice yourself thinking it'll save us. Because it won't. Those boys need their father, not a martyr. Amara, promise me, Jaewon. Promise me you'll fight to come home." He intertwined his fingers with hers. "I promise." She leaned her head on his shoulder. They stayed like that until dawn, not sleeping, just existing together in the space between who they used to be and who they might become. When the sun rose, she went back upstairs. He got ready for war. The legal kind. He hoped. The steel mill looked like a graveyard for industry. Rusted machinery, broken windows, the Detroit River flowing dark and silent behind it. Jaewon arrived early, checked the perimeter, looked for traps. Found none. Which meant either Volkov was being honest about negotiating, or he was very, very good at hiding his ambush. Victor had offered to come, had insisted, actually. But Jaewon had refused. This was his fight, his family, his chance to prove he'd changed. He walked into the main building at exactly 8 p.m. Volkov was waiting, standing alone in the center of the vast empty space. 50 years old, silver-haired, wearing an expensive suit that looked out of place against the industrial decay. "You came alone," Volkov said, sounding surprised. "I expected an army. I'm not that man anymore. We'll see." They stood 20 feet apart, 2 men from the same world trying to solve a problem that had no good solution. "You wanted me here," Jaewon said. "So talk. Straight to business. I always respected that about you." Volkov lit a cigarette. the ember glowing in the darkness. You cost me a lot when you walked away, Jaewon. Territory, money, respect. But most importantly, you cost me stability. This city has been chaos since you left. That wasn't my intention. Intention doesn't matter. Results do. And the result is that we're all weaker because you decided to play father. I am a father. You're a crime lord pretending to be a father. There's a difference. Jaewon took a step forward. Here's what I don't understand. You have everything you wanted. My territory, my connections, my absence. So why come after my family? Why not just let me fade away? Volkov smiled, cold and knowing. Because men like us don't get to fade away. We don't get happy endings. We get violence and betrayal, and eventually, death. That's the price of the life we chose. I didn't choose this life. I was born into it. And yet you thrived in it. You built an empire. You made grown men fear your name. You can't just walk away from that and expect the world to forget. I can try. And your family can die, trying with you. The threat hung in the air like smoke. Jaewon pulled out his phone, brought up the files his lawyer had sent him 2 hours ago. Before you escalate this further, you should know something. I have complete financial records of your money laundering operation. Bank accounts, shell companies, every transaction you've made in the last 5 years. Volkov's expression didn't change. You're bluffing. I'm not. And I've already sent copies to 3 different federal prosecutors. They're sitting in sealed envelopes with instructions. If anything happens to me or my family, those envelopes get opened. You'll be indicted within days. You think the law can touch me? I think the law can make your life very expensive and very complicated. I think your partners will abandon you the moment federal agents start asking questions. I think your empire will crumble exactly the way mine did. From the inside out. Volkov took a long drag on his cigarette. You're threatening me. With lawyers. I'm showing you that I have options that don't involve bloodshed. That there's a way to end this that doesn't make either of us monsters. And what do you want in exchange for your silence? Leave my family alone. Walk away. Let us live our quiet life in the suburbs while you run your empire. Our worlds don't have to collide. Volkov laughed, genuinely amused. You really have changed. The old Jaewon would have just killed me. The old Jaewon didn't have 3 boys who needed their father. And the new Jaewon thinks he can blackmail his way to safety. The new Jaewon is trying to protect his family without becoming his father. If that means blackmail instead of bullets, then yes. That's exactly what I think. Volkov studied him for a long moment. Then he pulled out his own phone. Made a call. Spoke in rapid Russian. Hung up. Done, he said simply. What? I'm calling off my men. Your family is safe. You keep your evidence locked away. I keep my business running. We never speak again. Jaewon didn't believe it could be that simple. Why? Because you're right. The federal investigation would cost me more than whatever satisfaction I'd get from destroying you. And because... Volkov paused. Something almost human flickering across his face. Because I have a daughter, 8 years old. And I hope to God that when I die she's as far away from this life as your sons are going to be. He turned to leave, then stopped. You were the best of us, Jaewon. The smartest. The strongest. Your father would be ashamed of what you've become. Good, Jaewon said. That means I'm doing something right. Volkov smiled sadly. Maybe you are. Good luck. You're going to need it. He walked away, his footsteps echoing through the empty mill. Jaewon stood alone in the darkness, his hands shaking, his heart racing. It was over. No bloodshed. No bodies. No becoming his father. Just negotiation. Evidence. The law instead of violence. He pulled out his phone, called Amara. She answered immediately. Are you okay? I'm okay. It's over. Volkov agreed to back off. Silence. Then, how? Legal leverage. Evidence of his money laundering. Mutual assured destruction instead of actual destruction. She was crying. He could hear it in her breathing. You didn't kill anyone? No. You didn't go back to being him? No. I found another way, just like you asked. I'm proud of you. The words were soft, but they hit like lightning. I'm so proud of you. Can I come home? Yes, please. The boys miss you. I miss you. He drove back to the safe house faster than he should have, burst through the door, found Amara waiting. She ran to him, threw her arms around his neck, and kissed him like she meant it. Not tentative this time. Not careful. Real. You came back, she whispered against his lips. I promised I would. And you didn't become him. I couldn't. Not with you waiting for me. She pulled back, looked at him with eyes full of tears and hope, and something that looked like love being rebuilt one brick at a time. I think... She started, then stopped. What? I think I might be ready to try again. Really try. Not just co-parenting. Not just being careful. Actually building something together. His heart stopped. Are you sure? No. But I think that's okay. We don't have to be sure. We just have to be willing to try. Upstairs, one of the boys started crying. Then another. Then all three. A symphony of need. Amara laughed through her tears. That's our cue. They went upstairs together, fed the boys, changed diapers, rocked them back to sleep. And in that ordinary moment, no empire, no violence, no grand gestures, Jaewon felt something he'd been chasing his entire life. Peace. He was home. Finally. Really. Home.